We will call this meeting to order. This meeting is with the Neighborhood Preservation Committee and the Greater Syracuse Land Bank. I have with me Councilor Hogan, Councilor Geathers, Councilor Nave, and Councilor Caldwell. Myself, Councilor Jones-Rouser, and the Land Bank staff, Caitlin Wright, Luke Doherty's here, and a few others in NBD. So we're going to start this meeting. We just want to have a quick update on some of your budget items from this year. How's that going? And also give us an update on your future development proposals, as well as the lease, the land that's being leased to I-81.
Okay.
So that's just a start.
Okay. Thank you for having us. I appreciate the opportunity to share with all of you and with the public what it is that we're up to. Every October, this is good timing actually, because every October we adopt our budget for the 4 coming years. And before we do that, we kind of true up our current year budget against what our year-end projections are. So our budget for 2025 was initially drafted back in October of 24. That was shortly after the city had adopted its new tax foreclosure law. And so we were expecting the volume of foreclosures to increase significantly over the course of 2025, and we expected more sales. We typically do between $1 million and $1.5 million in sales each year. And generally speaking, that covers about half of our operating costs. So it costs about $2 million a year to keep the land bank running. And that's just, basic property maintenance, picking up trash and debris, lawn mowing, shoveling sidewalks, insurance, all of those things. Anything that's more of a capital project, like a demolition, or sometimes when we do stabilization and put a new roof on a building, those are generally funded by grants, and that grant income is booked at the same time we book the expense. So that has a net zero effect on our budget. It's the operating side where we've got to figure out how we're going to come up with the $2 million to operate each year. Mm-hmm. And generally speaking, we raise about half of that through sales proceeds and a minimal amount through rent. I'll talk about rent in a minute. And then the other half gets made up by help from the city and the county and the financial support we receive from both of you each year. And we have a bit of a rainy day fund that we often have to dip into a small amount. We have enough cash on hand right now where if there was an emergency and we had no outside support coming in, it would keep us operating for about 9 months. Over the past few years, we've seen that shrink and shrink. It was 18, and then it was a year, and now we're at 9 months as we keep having to draw down on that. But so in our budget last year, when we thought the volume of foreclosures was going to be increasing, we figured that would mean we'd have more sales. But the volume of foreclosures really has not increased, and we only have about 4 or 5 properties listed for sale at any given time. Mm-hmm. Right after COVID, we had as many as 40 listings at any given time, and a lot of options for buyers to choose from. The market is still very hot. There's a lot of demand, and sales prices are up, but our number of listings at any given time is very, very low. And not only does it mean that we're bringing in a lot less revenue, but I find that our buyers are frustrated. They go to our website and they call us and they want to see what's available, and we don't have a lot of choices to give them. So, like I said, we generally bring in between $1 million and $1.5 million in sales revenue each year, and we just had to amend our 2025 budget, and we're reducing that projection to $500,000 for the year, and we'll be lucky if we hit that. So that shows us running about $150,000 deficit, but that includes all of the financial support that we got from the city for 25 and 26. We were able to book it all in this calendar year because our fiscal year is the calendar year and yours is off by 6 months.
Yeah.
So that would mean we won't be booking any income from the city for the first 6 months of 26. We were able to roll that all forward into this year to help. And then we got $250,000 from the county this year. So that's $1 million of support from the city and the county. And if it weren't for that, we'd be running a $1.1 million deficit for the year, and we'd be out of business pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. So that's our budget situation right now, and I'm hoping that the volume of foreclosures will increase in the coming year, mostly so that we have more choices for buyers to look at. There's a couple reasons for that. So one, we spend a lot of time working on site assembly. You'll see on that map over there, we put together a lot of sites for new construction. The pink ones are all sites where Home Headquarters either has built already or they're about to build. The blue ones are all under contract with Habitat for Humanity, and they have an application into the state for the state's block-by-block program. At the very bottom of the map there, you'll see some in orange. That's a joint effort between the Syracuse Southside Community Growth Foundation that Chetty is funding and REDEV CNY. So they also have a block-by-block application in, and they're planning to build 10 single-family homes. Those will all be sold to owner-occupants. A whole bunch of these are mostly for sale to owner-occupants. At the corner of Beard and Midland and Colvin and Midland, you'll see there's a very light green color. That's all where Housing Visions has already put in new construction of two-family homes. And this is the process we go through, where we start picking up almost a checkerboard of tax foreclosures, and we do demolitions and we do lot line adjustments to move the lines around to make them large enough to build on. And unfortunately, that process is pretty slow, and so people in the community can't see that I'm moving lines around on a map. You just don't see it in real life. And it takes us years to do that site assembly and the demolitions that are needed to make them shovel-ready sites. So over there, where Home Headquarters had done a bunch of new builds on Woodland and Baker and Garfield, in the 8 years leading up to that, we spent a ton of money from grants on demolitions. We went out and bought a Freddie Mac foreclosure. We got a couple of other properties donated to us by banks. And then we chip away at it, putting together these building lots so that when they're ready to go apply to New York State for funding, they can say, we have a signed contract with the land bank, we have the site control that we need for these lots, and that's critical to get that money back here to Syracuse. So when I say that we want to see more foreclosures, that's what we're looking at for vacant lots, is making shovel-ready sites for new construction. And we're doing that with Home Headquarters and Housing Visions, but also with Jubilee Homes. Walt Dixie's here. A Tiny Home for Good does the same thing, and I mentioned Habitat and REDEV CNY. So there's a lot of folks in town that look to us for those shovel-ready sites so they can have a signed contract to bring that money home.
What are the purple sites?
The purple sites are ones that we don't necessarily have a specific buyer lined up for yet, but we're working on making them shovel-ready so that then when somebody like Jubilee or Home Headquarters or Housing Visions comes to us, that'll be available for them. You'll notice one of those big purple sites is on the 100 block of West Brighton. We recently acquired probably 6 structures in a row there. The one in the worst condition was demoed pretty quickly, and I know they're coming back for the rest before the end of this calendar year. And then we'll have a pretty big chunk of contiguous land, and that is zoned multifamily. Most of the properties we get are zoned for 1 or 2 family homes, and it's hard to make the numbers work on those, as you know. But it's a good opportunity for us to have something that's zoned multifamily, so you could hypothetically put an apartment building in there with a lot more units. As you know, we're experiencing a housing crisis, and we want to try to get as many new units online as we possibly can. So we're eager to get those shovel-ready sites together. We're also eager to demolish as many blighted properties as we can. If it needs to be demolished, why not do it sooner rather than later? And so if there are demolition candidates on the seizable list, we'd love to see them come our way sooner rather than later. It also puts us in a good position when we go apply to the state for land bank initiative dollars. We have brought home more LBI funding than any other land bank in New York State because we go out and we proactively acquire these properties. A lot of land banks wait until they have the grant in hand, and then they might go out and acquire 5 or 6 lots and build new houses. We can constantly show New York State that we have shovel-ready projects and that there is a great need because we proactively acquire properties. We've demolished almost 700 structures so far since the land bank was created and reduced the number of vacant buildings in the city of Syracuse by about 40%. We obviously still have a long ways to go, but we want to keep going as fast as we can because right now, New York State has a lot of money available for land banks and for affordable housing in general, and we want to kind of capitalize on that moment. So vacant lots, demolition candidates, and then vacant buildings that are not demolition candidates are the ones that we would be listing for sale. When I say that our buyers are frustrated and they want more choices, we'd like to have more rehab candidates listed for sale at any given time so that we have more options for local buyers. We vet them to make sure that they have the skills and the financing needed to do the rehab. But we have a lot of great repeat buyers that are local investors, and that enables them to either operate that as a rental or flip it to an owner-occupant and create an option for a home buyer. You know, a lot of our homes are in rough shape, as you know, and a lot of buyers just really don't have the time or the money to deal with a gut renovation like what our homes require. So when we can partner with flippers like that, it puts more move-in ready stuff out there for folks that really want a move-in ready option.
Around the new development, the modular homes, give us a little bit more history on how that came about, how it's proposed to happen, and again, remind us who the organizations that you'll be working with.
So New York State Homes and Community Renewal, or HCR, just released an application called Move In New York, and they're using money that was in last year's state budget for starter homes to fund that. And that's following up a pilot program that we participated in this past year. So HCR partnered with 3 land banks. We were one of 3 selected to build a pilot home. They did an RFP and selected Champion Homes to be the builder. So we hired Champion. And they have 2 divisions. There's a division that does the installations in the field, and then they've got the factory where the homes are built. And these are manufactured homes. So we purchased the home from Champion for $105,000, and then we paid the Champion install division another $175 on top of that to pour the foundation, build a 1-car garage on site, put in a new city sidewalk and a driveway, and I'll do all the utility hookups. So that home needed a brand new sewer lateral, water lateral, and we hooked up natural gas as well, and electric. So all in, it's about $285,000 or $280,000 to develop this house.
280, is that?
Yes, and the finished product appraised at $250. It's a single-story home with 3 bedrooms and 2 full baths, just about 1,500 square feet. So that's very comparable to what Home Headquarters is building right now, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, about that much square footage, except this is a 1-story home and they're building 2-story homes. In order to make this work, these homes can be put on a full basement, but to keep that 280 budget number, all of the pilot participants put them on slabs. So it's on a concrete slab. It arrives in 2 parts. They back it onto the slab, join them together, and then set them down on concrete pillars. And then if you were in a mobile home park, you might see a house like that have a metal skirt around it. But of course, we want these to fit in as much as possible with all of the neighboring homes. So we built a skirt around it that's 3 blocks of concrete blocks. So it's about 2.5 feet high, and then parged it with smooth concrete. So when you walk up to that house, it looks just like all the other neighboring houses on the block that are raised about 2.5 feet up on their basement walls.
Yeah.
But there is no basement to access. So because of that, that's why we built the 1-car garage. We wouldn't normally do a garage with new affordable housing, but I felt like they needed the storage.
Okay. So
Now that we've successfully done this pilot, HCR is encouraging us to apply for funding to build at least 60 more of these in Syracuse. I'm not sure if we'll be using Champion again or not, but we would be applying for the grant funding. We would be the quote-unquote developer, but we would hire a manufactured home builder to produce all of these and install them. In the end, there's very little work for the developer to do. The company does almost everything, and they act as our GC.
Was there one or two that you did already?
We've only done one at 139 Maxwell, and the buyer, we have a buyer under contract. We will be scheduling some sort of ribbon cutting event there that we'll let you know about. But I'd also like to walk you guys through it if you want to see it, because we are going to be applying for funds to build a lot more of these.
Yeah.
But right now, New York State is encouraging groups like us to apply for the money. They're also soliciting proposals from manufacturers. So I think in this next round, there will be multiple manufacturers participating that we can choose from. And I'm hopeful that that means there will be multiple models to choose from, so that all 60 won't look the same. We want some variety. And this home is a very nice layout, but it requires at least a 48-foot wide lot to fit. And I'm hoping for some narrower options in the next go-around because we have a whole bunch of lots that are exactly 40 feet wide. And I really need to find a design that will fit on those because we spend a lot of time on resubs creating bigger lots, but it's not always feasible. Sometimes I have a 40-foot lot in between two nice, well-maintained, tax-current, owner-occupied homes. There is no room to add more land.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping for a narrower model that we can make fit on a standard lot.
Okay. And so, again, this is solely your development, or is?
This would just be us. So we're going to be the applicant for Move-In New York. That's not to say that there can't be more than one applicant in the city of Syracuse. I'm not sure if there might be other groups thinking of applying. But I will plan on partnering with smaller nonprofits on the ground to help with sales. So when it comes time to advertising these homes, finding qualified buyers, there are quite a few nonprofits in town that have housing counselors on staff, and we want to utilize their skills and see if they can help us find appropriate buyers for these houses.
Okay, so you said it's $280 to complete, $250 was the appraisal. Was that the listing price as well?
We listed it at $175. So this one, they wanted us to sell to a home buyer between 70 and 90% of area median income. I think on the pilot, the cap is going to be at 80% of area median income. So that really dictates what's the maximum we can charge because we have to back into a mortgage amount where their monthly mortgage, taxes, insurance, and maintenance don't exceed 30% of their gross monthly income.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any questions on that?
Hey, Caitlin, I had a question on demolition. Do you or the city bids, when they send out bids for demolitions, you go to the lowest bidder or someone who maybe has more of a background doing this?
Well, we almost always go to the lowest bidder, and it's in the instances where we don't, it's not necessarily that we think one is more qualified or more experienced than the other. It's just about how much volume they can do. So each demolition company can typically do 2 houses a week. And if we get to a point where we're nearing the end of a grant contract, we need to spend our money quickly, and I know we've got to get 30 houses down in a short period of time, we'll try to spread that work out between multiple contractors just so that we can get it all done faster.
Okay.
But generally speaking, it goes to the lowest bidder.
Okay.
Now, that project we talked about, the Move-In New York, the cross-mod homes, those are manufactured homes, and manufactured homes are built to the HUD code, and they are only ever single-story. So that's kind of a real niche product. And I think there are probably a lot of buyers that want single-story living for mobility reasons. Maybe you're getting older, you want to make sure you have a first-floor bedroom. So I think there are buyers that will want those. But we are also interested in 2-story houses. You know, we went through our whole inventory of building lots, and we specifically looked for ones that are on a block where there are other single-story homes so that these will fit in. But we have a lot of blocks where everything is 2-story. And if I were to plop one of these down, it would stick out like a sore thumb. So we are also working on some modular home options that would be 2 stories, similar size, but we haven't gotten the numbers to quite work yet. We had a call 2 weeks ago with Jubilee, who's partnering with us on this project on the Near West Side, and Bill Lake Homes is a modular manufacturer, and then the architect and a local installer. And what we're trying to do is figure out, how can we tweak the design to make those numbers work either under the state's Affordable Homeownership Opportunity Program, AHOP, or the block-by-block program that Habitat and REDEV-CNY are applying for. So we'll see if we can make those numbers work, and we're planning to partner with Jubilee. I will email you all a map of the Near West Side showing you what we're looking at. But Home Headquarters has a block-by-block application already awarded, and they're going to build 13 houses all on Merriman. And what we have are sites all around that where we think we can put 1- and 2-family homes, either through AHOP and the block-by-block. We kind of want to do a mix of the two. 35 sites at least that we're working on with Jubilee. So as soon as we get those numbers figured out, we'll be able to put in an application. Because we do have a little bit of a fund balance, we're able to spend money on a lot of that pre-development work that Jubilee and the smaller nonprofits wouldn't necessarily be able to do, so paying the architects and putting those designs together. And then in the end, we have an agreement with them where we've kind of split up the labor. Our insurance is covering it. Like I said, we're fronting the money for the pre-development stuff. They are finding buyers and selling these homes, and they have a construction manager on staff that's playing a big role in supervising the construction. So we split up the work between the two of us, and then in the end, split the developer's fee. And we're looking to do something similar with Tucker Missionary Baptist Church. So we got a lot of vacant lots early on over on Oakwood and Leon and East Kennedy Street. And we knew right away that we were going to have to work with the church because it was kind of a checkerboard of properties. They own their church, obviously, and then a lot of vacant land on the surrounding block. And their lots and our lots are all mixed together. And so we had a conversation with them many years ago at this point, probably before COVID, and said, look, it appears that we're going to have to work together if we want to get something built in this area, and we'd like to work with you. And so we've been coming up with some plans. You asked about the lots that we're leasing for 81. This is a map that I have that we can share if you want to take one and pass it down. That kind of shows how our lots and their lots are all mixed up together. And the land over there was really overgrown. A lot of dead trees and diseased trees and that kind of brushy undergrowth. And it was creating a lot of places for people to hide and not be so visible, you know. And also we were having a lot of problems with illegal dumping over there. And this company approached us and the church and said that they were interested in clearing all that land, getting rid of the diseased and dead trees and all the shrubbery, and leveling it. So not only was it all overgrown, but the ground itself was very uneven. So they're paying us both a little bit of rent, but more importantly, they've cleared and leveled that site so that when they're done in 2.5 years, those sites will be ready for new houses. And in the meantime, the church says that they're obviously not having any more problems with illegal dumping of trash. The contractor has those sites fenced so that people can't dump trash there. So we're grateful that they've kind of taken the first step so that we can follow behind them and put houses. And similarly to what we're doing with Jubilee, we would front all the money for the pre-development costs and the engineering. And then in their case, the church doesn't have the development experience that Jubilee has. So they would be doing a lot less in the division of labor, but we would split the developer's fee with them based on how much land we're each contributing to the project. So our land and their land is the equity contribution to the project.
Okay, that's the equity.
And they would help us try to find buyers from their congregation.
Oh, from the congregation.
That's who we would want to heavily market it to, and if we can't find enough buyers, then we'll obviously broaden our circle, but that's where we'd like to start.
Okay. And back to the ones where Chetty and them will be doing. So I know you was talking about, at that time, you was talking about the two-story properties, but a lot of that area is like the smaller.
Okay.
Yeah.
As far as I know, Redev CNY is planning on using some modular designs that we got done. We applied for a grant jointly with a Tiny Home for Good a while back to get some of those modular homes designed.
Yeah.
And the ones that they liked were the Avery and the Cadwell. These are the two designs. So I think this is what they're planning to build, a mix of those, but they're trying to get their site install costs down as well. They're having the same numbers problem that I'm having on the Near West Side.
Okay.
And the ones that Habitat will be building are two-story homes. Also modular, but we didn't design those.
Okay. I want to talk about rents and the go into some brownfield stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't want to
I got a couple questions.
okay.
So this was good, Caitlin. I thank you for breaking this down to how it's going to be, what we're going to do, the next step. But can you first tell me how many vacant lots do Land Bank own right now?
At least 600, I would say. Does that sound right? Yeah. Oh, more than half of our inventory is vacant land now.
And is a lot of them like connected to each other? Are they buildable? Let's put it like that.
About half of them you could consider buildable, but many of those are the 40-foot lots, like I mentioned. And when Home Headquarters approaches us, they want at least 55 feet. And Jubilee generally wants at least 45. So they're legally buildable, but nobody's knocking down my door to build on them.
So they're in between it, not for it, okay.
Yeah. There are some folks that are building on 40-foot lots. You know, a Tiny Home for Good has no problem fitting their tinier models on there. We'd like I said, to find some additional models that will fit nicely because there are so many 40-foot lots in our inventory.
So with you, I know this is new to you guys, and you guys built the one on Maxwell. I did go by and see it. I haven't had a chance to go inside it. And I have saw some of the other module houses that they are building, like outside near Pennsylvania, the two ones. So with this being said, how does this affect, what other resources are you gonna need? Is there gonna be some resources that's gonna come back to the city to say, hey, we're building this, yes, we are, working out, where else do you find there's gonna be trouble? Because we know that as we're building and things happen,
Yeah.
and there could be, where else do you see that there's gonna be a need?
Well, so on the Move in New York program, to copy what we did at 139 Maxwell, we know that the state is going to be able to fully fund whatever subsidies needed on those. So that's going to be easy for us to move forward with. On the block by block and the AHOP program, like I said, we're having a bit of a math problem right now. We cannot figure out how to make the numbers work to build those without any other source of subsidy. We're trying to trim costs to get that house cheaper to build, but we may ultimately end up having to come ask the city for some help either through home or CDBG, potentially through an AHC application. So we're figuring that out now. But ideally, we'd rather not, because we know that the allocation that the city gets from the feds is shrinking every year, and we don't want to put any further strain on that. So that's the puzzle we're trying to solve.
So that was my only concern. I think
Yeah.
one of the things is, we know that we have a housing crisis here in the city,
Yep.
and we know we need more. But we know with building, I haven't seen a house built yet where there hasn't been an issue coming back, where there's more dollars, and with you guys having a deficit, which is not that I'm not throwing shade, but I'm glad, right? Because I love the fact that I'm hoping people are paying their taxes. I know you're saying you were hoping to get more housing, but I'm hoping you don't, because I want people to pay taxes, because I want people to stay in their homes. So,
Well, and I wanted to address that.
Yeah.
So I mentioned earlier, we want vacant lots, we want demolition candidates, we want vacant houses to sell. I don't really want occupied homes. I completely agree with you. I want those people to pay their taxes and to be successful homeowners. If it comes to us, there's a problem. So unfortunately, we do occasionally get occupied properties, and if a tenant living in the home at the time of foreclosure wants to buy, they get the first opportunity to purchase. We've had some great success stories where we're able to take those tenants and turn them into homeowners. But yeah, every occupied property we get takes a lot of staff time to handle, and our focus is to get vacant and abandoned properties back into productive use. That's our mission.
I love that part. That made me smile. But so with that saying, as we move forward, and I'm glad, that Councilor Rouser came up with, making sure we have a meeting, having these conversations, right? Because I know it's new to you guys building, right? I know you're working with other developers and people have built, but we know that the city is already at a deficit. We know moving forward, we don't know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So step into a situation and not knowing or not thinking about what's next is my really concern, saying, let's have these conversations now, let's be transparent, let's say, hey, if we're gonna build, this might be it, right? Because we don't know where CDBG is.
Yeah.
We don't know what our budget's gonna be and the reserve,
Yeah.
right? So we can't talk. So having those conversations ahead of time before we started, putting that in. And my second question would be, on a basis of, you said 175, 150 houses, 250, what does a person's income have to be?
Well, 70 to 90% of AMI was the goal for Maxwell, and it depends on how many people you have in your household. I'm going to find that for you. I'll find it.
It's for the people. They
Yeah.
wanna know.
Just one moment here.
Yeah.
Average. And I do understand it goes by people in the homes, and we're trying to get families in homes, so we understand
Yeah.
that.
I've got a table here. So depending on how many people are in the household, for 90% of AMI and a family of one, it would be $65,000. If you have a spouse and a couple of kids, a family of four, the cap is $93,000. And this was for 90% AMI. Our targets for the big batch of move-in in New York will probably be a little lower. But I believe they said they want us to average 80, and we can go up to 100. So some lower, some higher.
On that, will all of the properties be for sale?
Yes, no rentals. They all have to be owner occupied.
Okay, okay. All right. So we got to ramp up our helping people get buyer ready.
Yes, absolutely. Now is the time to start putting together that pipeline of potential buyers. Tell folks to definitely visit Home Headquarters Home Buyer Education Center. Getting that class under their belt is important. Talking to lenders about getting pre-approved. And they may find that they need to start working on improving their credit score a little bit, and there's time to do that.
Okay. And it looks like majority of these are south side and some southwest.
Yeah, this map is a little bit outdated too, and I will email you, like I said, the map of the near west side. So what we're working on with Jubilee is all surrounding that Merriman Street that Home Headquarters is working on. So that's all near west side properties, and I'll send you that map.
Okay. So I'm just speaking for my counselor over here. There's nothing for north side
Well,
right now.
we do have north side properties. So we don't have the exact addresses picked out yet for that move-in New York application, but we should be submitting that later this month, and so we're narrowing down the sites now. We are looking for north side lots, but like I said, they need to be at least 48 feet wide, and they need to be relatively level so they can back the truck up onto that slab foundation. So if it's a steep slope, it's not going to work. And unfortunately, most of the land that we have on the north side is narrow and sloped.
Yeah. Okay.
But we are looking.
Yeah.
I know like one property on Butternut Street, and it's a shell now, and I don't think it's gonna be anything going by the land bank. It's a shell. It's over by the 1500 block, right before you get to Butternut Circle, and it's a shame though, because we've had a lot of buildings that could be reusable, and then we have to go to the process of season for tax delinquents as well. So I know there's an issue, but I did want to say that we had a neighborhood meeting at Sweeting Street, and I was very glad how prompt you were, and we got this house on Highland Street, right to the land bank. So
Good.
they were happy about that.
I'm glad to hear that.
Are we going to Crowley? No, there's some vacant lots.
Oh, yeah.
There may be an opportunity there on Crowley, yeah. We do have some vacant land over there already. I feel like maybe these are a little bit too short. Most of the homes over there are at least two-story, but, I mean, we'll get something built there. Any buildable lot we have in our inventory right now is a priority because, like I said, we're having an extraordinary housing shortage, and New York State is putting more money towards affordable housing than ever, so we need to capitalize on that opportunity.
One other question about the lot on Oakwood, and I mentioned it to Tucker. I am a member there, but I am speaking for the constituents, that the community has questions about what's going on, and then the trucks come in, and then now there's a fence and those things.
Yeah.
So I would urge that some way you guys get out there, even, can't think of her name, that lives right across the street, who's been there 60, 70 years in the house. She's like, what's going on? Like, she sits in between where Dunbar's backyard is, and she's like, what's going on? And so it'd be nice, so especially if they're gonna be there 2.5 years, that we let the community know that there's gonna be trucks coming in and out of what's going on, especially the neighbors in those neighborhoods.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And also that I believe the trucks are supposed to take specific routes and that they need to stay on those routes.
Okay.
Because I think they have been going off the route.
I'll check on that.
Don't know if it's specifically that crew, but we've
But-
had a lot of traffic on Garfield. That shouldn't be happening. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, we could get a flyer out to all of the homeowners in that area, letting them know exactly what the plan is.
Yes, yeah, because they've actually reached out and they don't know. Miss Sylvia, that's her name,
Okay.
that lives right across the street. She been there forever and she didn't know what was going on.
And I also want to say, when this construction company first approached us, I was very hesitant to sign a lease at all. And they were interested in those assemblages of land where we own some and the church owns some. And I said, I'm not sure the neighbors are going to want it, and I'm not sure the church is going to want it. But they convinced the church first, and so we kind of followed their lead. And it,
Church need to
the
go out there
church should
too.
have gone.
Yeah.
out
I'm not
and-
just saying you.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying
I agree.
Tuckers,
But-
too, they need to go and let the community know. They deserve to know, and they need to know what's going on, because that's a long time for trucks to be coming in and out their neighborhood without knowing.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just, two more things for me. The brownfield, well, I see how much, but like how many average per year do you guys have for like having to work on brownfield
We don't
items?
get a ton of brownfield properties. There aren't all that many on the seizable list to begin with, and they take a lot of staff time, so we try to methodically chip away at that list. We have acquired 917 Montgomery that used to be an auto repair shop, and
Oh, yes.
and also 541 Seymour Street over on the near west side. It's a huge building that spans between Seymour and Shawnered. A lot of people know it as the Consolidated Industries building. It was built about over 100 years ago as a ball bearing manufacturing plant, and there's some soil contamination under there. So last year we were able to get a grant from the EPA for about $3.7 million, and that will pay to do soil remediation underneath 917 Montgomery. Our goal there is to save that building. It's a little brick building, and it's on a pretty small lot. So my fear has been if we take that building down, it's so small, the lot, that it's unlikely anybody will ever build there, and it'll just become a parking lot. So we're trying to do everything we can to preserve that building, do the soil remediation underneath, and then finish it off as kind of a vanilla box. It's in the Blueprint 15 target area, so we're committed to working with Blueprint 15 to recruit developers for those sites. We may put in the RFP that we want to see some specific sort of use there, but that building could be used for office, for retail, for a restaurant. There's a lot of options. Now, over on Seymour Street, that building has to come down. It's about 35,000 square feet, and the roof has almost fully collapsed. So a big chunk of that grant will be to demolish the building, and then once it's gone, we can remove all the contaminated soil, bring in clean soil, and that happens to be an industrial building in the middle of a residential neighborhood. It's residentially zoned, so when we're all done, we can divide that up into 13 building lots for new houses. We're also going to be applying this fall for a cleanup grant for 500 Hawley. That's the former Patrick's Dry Cleaners over in the Hawley Green neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
The city currently holds title to that building.
Got them ready.
Yeah.
I already responded to Larissa from EPA, so thank you, and I said Kayla Wright and her staff will be working with you on this project.
Okay. So I'm optimistic if we can get funding for that, it would be huge. You can apply for up to $4 million, and our consultants tell us that we'll probably need all $4 million just for that site. The soil is extremely contaminated under the building. We would have to take the building down and remove a bunch of that soil. And then it's a mixed-use zoning district, so I'm hopeful that we could get somebody to build something multi-story there with commercial on the bottom and residential upstairs. But even if we're successful, we won't be under contract until, say, October of 26. Maybe we start remediation in 27. Maybe we get somebody to build there in 28 or 29. These projects all move painfully slow.
You have to, for demolition, to go through these chemicals, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
Caitlin, on the list, there was a list that came out just recently that I think it's this upcoming one. There was some seizable lots. Some of them were like only $3,000, $2,000. Did you see those? Honestly, we may have. Okay, so do you have a bunch of, or several of the lots that are like excessive that you're trying to seize and not those kind of lots?
See, when we're looking for land, we're looking for what's geographically the most strategic. And I just see on the map, is it seizable or not? I never really see how much they owe, and I don't really care how much they owe. That's not our area.
Right, but if they're like 3,000 and 5,000, I'm not gonna be okay with them taking it.
Understood.
So that's what I'm saying, like, is there, or if you're willing to talk to maybe the owner to say, hey, this is what it is.
We
but
don't
just
do,
to- yeah.
we don't do the foreclosures. The city does all the foreclosures. And if the city wanted to make it a policy that they're not going to foreclose on anybody that owes less than $3,000 or less than $5,000, it's certainly within your power to do so.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just telling you,
Yeah.
somebody owe
But
3,000, I'm not gonna.
when I'm putting together a map of where we can build stuff, I'm just looking at what's adjacent and is it feasible or not. I have no idea what the number is.
Michelle, let me ask you a question with this. So with that being said, as they're gonna be trying to build, where do you plan as CDBG or any funding to help support this?
Yeah, so typically the way that sorry, Michelle Spansky, Deputy Commissioner of Neighborhood Development. Typically where we are supporting the development of affordable housing and construction is actually usually out of the Home Partnership Program, which is a kind of companion HUD entitlement grant that we get an annual allocation every year from HUD. I think the latest that we've heard about what the future of that funding looks like, it does sound like there's still some questions about whether or not home is going to be included in the upcoming federal budget. So we don't really know at this point where that's going to land. It's all kind of tied up in the government shutdown. So yeah, so it's still, we're not sure what it's going to look like. What we do know is that on a regular year, if we are getting those resources, that to Caitlin's point, they are decreasing every year. I think the way that we would really look to try to kind of attack this, obviously within New York State, Caitlin mentioned many of the programs that the governor is lining up to help support funding for housing construction. So the AHC program is a great example of those. And so I think the kind of name of the game for us is working with our partners like the Land Bank, like Home Headquarters, like Jubilee, to line up our applications in a way where we can keep them moving through as competitively as possible so that everyone is able to take advantage of them, but we're able to get, I think the way that some of those programs typically work, it's often the case that we could have multiple sub-grantees in the same community. So trying to line those up with the timing so that we can keep those dollars flowing will be, I think, how we'll look to kind of attack that. But
Well, how many properties from the 2024 are still in the process?
From 2020, from
That was
the
already
most
approved through the
recent
council.
phase. We have about 125, I believe. I can double check the exact number, but it's somewhere in that ballpark of properties that the council has voted on, and they're in their final legal closing.
These are vacant, right?
These are houses and vacant lots.
Correct. So everything that was approved since the beginning of 2024, when we started this current phase.
So I asked Caitlin, which this really should have been going to you, some of the houses the land that are adjacent or connected to land that we want because they're buildable and they have an enormous amount of taxes, but then there's some that's connected that's not on the list. What are we doing about that? Because I saw on the list there is. Oh, okay. Oh, you got a list. Okay. She said she got you.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
So last, I wanted to ask about when you do acquire, well, when you have in the past acquired properties that have tenants in them, what's the process? Not the tenants who, I'm talking about tenants who can't afford to become owners, like they might be in a multifamily.
Yeah.
What's the process of them, being there to the point that they have to move out?
So the goal would be to help them buy the house, but you're right. Most of the time that doesn't work out. Either they have virtually no income, there's no way they could get a mortgage, or the home itself is in such bad shape that they don't want to stay there. So we work with Catholic Charities for that. We have a service contract with them. They provide relocation assistance to help people find available units, help them get signed up for benefits that they may not already be getting. Now, because of the housing crisis that we're experiencing, we used to be able to help somebody relocate and find them a new place to go in about 3 months. And these days, it's taking up to 9 months to find somewhere for somebody to go. And we are, unfortunately, oftentimes having to simultaneously pursue an eviction. People would like to live in better conditions, obviously, but if you're living somewhere for free, you tend to drag your feet. So we're providing...
So you guys don't charge a rent when...
In a
they're
situation
there?
like that, no, because I don't want to be the landlord responsible for maintaining that building that is not in good condition. Now, in other cases, we will enter into a lease and rent to somebody for a year or sometimes more if it's in good shape and they're working on getting mortgage
Looking to buy
qualified.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if it's a unit that's so bad that we need to relocate them, we do not charge rent. And we also provide cash assistance. So it's not just the caseworker. There's also cash available to help with first and last month's rent and security deposit because we want to make it easy for them to find somewhere good to go.
With the new modular homes, this is very interesting to me because I saw how they did it I actually watched the video, so it's very unique to me how they build it. But with this being said, do we have to go in agreement with whoever developer is to build so many? Can we start off small to see, or do we have to say we're going to, when you build a contract, they want to know, we want 30 of them and they want to be secure. Is there any way we could start off smaller to secure, we have the finances, secure, especially with everything's going on?
Yeah.
I'm trying to not be so critical or say anything negative, but just to make sure that we can build it.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's reasonable what Counselor Caldwell is saying, because we all know, like, we're getting hit with tariffs every other
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
So, what the move in New York may be, proposing for funding that could change
Yeah.
with.
Move in New York is a little bit different than most of the state programs because HCR is really heavily involved in selecting which manufacturers we're going to be working with, reviewing their bids and pricing. And HCR has pledged that they will provide as much subsidy as needed for each house. So for that one, I'm a lot less worried. We know that they're backing it. We know they're not going to fund us unless we have an affordable partner for the manufacturing. But for AHOP and block by block, we are building in, we're required to build in a contingency into our budget. So if there are cost overruns, we dip into the contingency first. If there are more cost overruns than that, we could potentially dip into our own developer's fee and take a little bit less of a fee. And there's always the possibility of going back to HCR and saying, look, this just isn't viable anymore. The numbers have changed. So if we get halfway through and suddenly our contractors say they can't honor the prices, we'll just have to stop. I hope we don't find ourselves in that situation. It would be disappointing. But particularly with the move in New York, HCR is really pushing the idea of volume. I think they would be disappointed if we came in with an application for a much lower number of houses. Their whole theory is that these are more cost-effective than a stick-built home, partly because of the way they're manufactured and partly because we're going to be doing a whole lot of volume.
Tell me the acronym HCR.
Homes and Community Renewal. So that's the agency that's running all of these other funding programs. They run AHOP, Block by Block, and the Move in New York program, and
And their funding is from where?
New York State.
Okay.
I said I had one last question, but I got one more. As far as the Article 11 reimbursement stuff, how has that gone? Like, has there been any submissions for that? And are we looking to cover you guys at the same cost for next budget year?
I hope that the same amount of money is in next year's budget. I don't know the answer to that. But we're way under budget. So we've
good.
had about 12 claims so far. About 8 of those, we've gotten them appraised and done the math and seen that there is no surplus. So we send a copy of that appraisal and the city tax bill to the claimant and explain, we're sorry, there's no surplus. And in at least 4 cases, there has been a surplus, and we've hired a retired judge to handle those hearings. He's paid out the first of those cases. The other 3 cases are still pending. And all in, I think it's about $85,000 so far that we've incurred.
Okay.
Yeah, just
So
not bad.
It's still a good amount of money. Okay.
Yeah.
So we won't be looking at more is the main thing. So,
Yeah.
all right. Okay. All right, that is it
Nothing,
for
Mr.
me.
President?
Anyone else?
I'm fortunately the chairman of the land bank, so this is just going through all, but I do have, the one advantage I have is I remember the city before the land bank was created. And it was
Say it again.
I knew the city before the land bank was created, and it was really difficult for, especially district councilors, when you had a house, a dilapidated, delinquent house, that was, everybody in the neighborhood was complaining about, and we couldn't do anything about it.
No, I don't get me wrong. Caitlin knows I'm very transparent, very outspoken about it. I love the fact that we're taking these vacant lots that have old, the taxes are high, and I know that we're working on, some people, but I believe that if we can work with educating people about, if they own a home and if they have back taxes, that's our first job, and then, not just taking them. That's generational wealth with housing.
Yeah.
So I do respect the land bank, but I also am going to be transparent about, houses being taken in generations of people. And I'll be honest, people don't leave wills, and they
Yeah.
haven't done that. So, getting people ready for that. Because that's a lot of times what happens, people houses are stuck into wills and generations of mess. But
I completely know where you're coming
Yeah.
from. Our mission is to deal with vacant and abandoned properties.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some occupieds get caught up in the net, but that is something that didn't come up today, that we oftentimes find that the people living in the homes at the time of foreclosure are descendants of a deceased homeowner, and it never changed ownership after that person passed away. So we really do need to figure out a way to get more of these heirs in touch with legal aid so that they can properly settle their estates and absolutely keep that home equity in their family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you have a moment, I know that Walt would probably like to say something about what we're doing together on the Near West Side.
Walt Dixie, Executive Director, Jubilee Homes of Syracuse. To Councilor Kelwa, one of the things we like about Kerry is that he has helped us with some of our homeowners that didn't have wills and was losing properties, and he's been able to take back the properties, repurpose back to the folks, give them a subsidy, make it more affordable. So Kerry's definitely tried to figure out some of those issues. And at our new training center, we're hiring a director of housing that's going to be certified, and we want to educate because we have 100 homeowners, because a lot of them don't have what you're describing, including myself, no will. So we need to get more focus on those things and deal with that. The partnership is a great partnership between our agency. As you know, we're partnered with Home Headquarters. We're building 5 houses. We're doing a 9% tax credit, as you folks know. We feel great about that. And more importantly, this relationship is a great relationship because it allows our strength, what we do. They're taking the upfront risk in terms of, as I said to you earlier today, acquisition, the designs of the properties. We participate with that, Desiree and myself in particular, so it's not like they're alone. So, and we are excited to sell the homes. We have buyers pending right now. We just can't figure out the numbers yet. And we do believe that after looking at stick built versus marginal, this would be more affordable. Not huge, but a drop minus basements. But, you get a little bigger house, 2 bedrooms, the garage, but more importantly, it's faster to build. And so on that number, so we do have a developer that we have been partnered with for a minute. I don't want to do that publicly today, but it's working. And we need, everyone you hear that's doing this, for all these projects you hear, this is still not enough. And also, back to your question on the east side, Parks Common, I call it Hilltop. We've been meeting with them. We've been having discussions with them. Actually, we just did a job fair for them, and they really want to do the development. So we will be working with them and helping them. And I think once you redesign that, everything around that's going to elevate. So you'll find good landlords, good developers, us coming through here to help build. So over the next 5 years, the transformation is going to be key. What happens to Hilltop? And they're really willing to do it, and also educate and empower their residents. So we've been meeting with them. Madeira is doing case management with them, helping them find homes, and we have an Hispanic on staff that has been helping do the translation. So at this point, I'm not a part of the weeds of that, but there is discussions going on with that too. So this is a great relationship, and we're looking forward to continue to build our community. Thank you.
Walt, before you step away, the houses on Midland, what's the size of those houses, and do they have a basement?
Our house on Midland is, no, those are not our houses. Ours is on West Kennedy, Martin Luther King.
No,
You're
you do
talking
got
about
houses on Midland.
Midland and Colvin, Midland and Beard?
No, Midland between Bellevue and Tallman.
South Ave?
South Ave?
Midland.
Not Midland. We're gonna do one house on Midland. We not designed it yet. That ain't us. I'll like to take credit for it, but that's not us. Tallman. So we're building right now on South Ave and White Street, and one on West Kennedy. And the ones on Martin Luther King that we built, those were
You mean that Jubilee built many years ago?
Yes, these are old. These
My-
are like 20,
Like a split
30
level
years.
looking house?
I'm not sure. It's like 3 or 4 of them.
Oh, the row houses on the corner?
a Midland Ave?
Yes.
Huh? Oh, Miss Hayden?
No,
Oh, those are Tom Francis.
never mind. Never mind.
If that was it, that's Tom Francis Day.
No.
We'll figure it out. We'll find an answer
Tom
to.
Francis, I'll show you him.
That's our guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll figure it out.
We'll
Thank
get you an
you.
answer to that.
Okay,
All right.
thank you. All right, so Caitlin, we appreciate you filling us in on the questions asked today. I'm pretty sure we'll probably have some more that will get you offline. And look forward to seeing your budget for the next coming.
Yeah, I appreciate
Year.
your guys' time and giving us an opportunity to share this with the community, because I think a lot of people don't know what's going on. Like I said,
Yeah.
you can't see lines moving around on a map when you're
Yeah.
just walking down the street, so.
Yeah, yeah. And then a lot of people get like Housing Vision and Home Headquarters mixed up
Yep.
too. So they see like houses being built and they don't know exactly which one is which, so.
Yeah. And I think we kind of started alluding to this a little bit, but like I said, New York State is providing more funding right now for affordable housing than ever before, so it's really kind of an all-hands-on-deck moment. Like Walt was starting to say, we need every group in town to be building as much as they can in order to capture that money and bring it home to Syracuse.
Yeah,
Absolutely, we need it.
okay.
So
All
thank
right.
you very much.
So
And if you have
thank
any
Thank you,
follow-up
guys.
questions, you know where to
Call
find me.
this meeting adjourned.
Yep, so moved.
All right. Thank you.